In the Fluid Grid Layout site, I've defined the grid and I'm now ready to start adding fluid layout elements to my page. This can be a tricky process because Design View behaves differently when the layout guides are turned on. But first things first, every web page needs a title, so let's change Untitled Document. I'm going to call it Pacific Highway Fluid. When you've defined a layout grid, Dreamweaver adds an extra button to the document toolbar. It's this button here, which shows the Fluid Grid layout guides, toggles them on and off. If you can't see the columns displayed here, click this button and then you can see the columns that you snap your various fluid elements to. Also make sure that mobile size is selected in the status bar at the bottom if it isn't already selected. Dreamweaver automatically adds a div at the top of the page. If you click inside it, it selects it and you see the tools for a fluid layout element. I don't want a div at the top of the page, so this trash can icon, if I mouse over it, delete HTML and the CSS for div 1. Yes, that's exactly what I want to do. Get rid of it. Don't click anywhere else. You must be inside the grid container when you start adding fluid elements. I'm going to close the CSS designer so I can work better with the insert panel, and what I want to add is a header element. It opens this dialog box. All fluid elements must have either a class or an ID, and you get this option to insert as a fluid element. Most elements in a fluid grid layout should be fluid. If in doubt, leave this selected. I'm going to add the ID of header and then click OK. It inserts the header with some placeholder text. What's different about Design View when you've got these guides turned on is that if an element is selected and you then insert another element, it's added immediately after it. So if I were to add another element, it would be placed immediately after header. But you can also nest items inside each other, and that's when it gets a little bit tricky. What I want to do is to nest a nav element inside this header. So I'm going to click in there. I'm going to turn this into a level 1 heading, but I can't do that before I insert the fluid element. So then click Navigation in the Insert panel, and I'm going to give it the ID of main nav, and then click OK. And if you look in Code View, you should be able to see that the nav is inside the header, and I've got this dummy text here which can be converted later into a level 1 heading. But because this is selected, if I were to insert a new element, it would immediately go after it. So in other words, inside the header. So what I need to do is I need to make sure that I've got the whole of the header selected. One way to do that is to click on the edge, and I've got the whole thing. The other way in which to do it, let's just go back, is to press the right arrow key once, and it should select it. No, it hasn't. What I need to do is to select the nav there, and then if I press the arrow key, it now selects everything. So as I say, it can be a little bit tricky. So my next element is going to be a figure, and I'm going to give it the ID of hero. And immediately after the hero, I want to add an article and give that the ID of intro. Notice that I'm just leaving all the dummy text in there at the moment. And after intro, I want another article, but this time I'm going to give it the class of teaser. And click OK. Now I'm going to nest some fluid elements inside my teaser article. So I'm going to select all of that text there and delete it. And I can now start nesting things inside the article. So what I want first is a heading. It'll be an H3, and I'll give that a class of teaser head. Then I want a figure, and I'll give that a class of teaser image. Then I want a paragraph, give that a class of teaser text, and then another paragraph which will have a class of teaser link. Then if I use my right arrow key, I can start moving around until I've selected the whole of that teaser article. And at the top right of the teaser article, there are the tools. Duplicate article teaser. Click that, and it gives me a complete teaser article. And again, and I need to do that 3 times altogether, so I've got 4 teaser articles. I've still got the teaser article selected, so the next element will be added after it. So click footer, give this the ID of footer, then just scroll down and I need to select that placeholder text and delete it. Then inside there I'm going to nest a section, and I'll give it the class of footer links. Click OK, and I want 2 more footer links, so just click that duplicate icon there twice, and then after the last footer links I want to add a paragraph, and that will have the ID of copyright, and then click OK. So I've now got the skeleton for my fluid grid layout completely sorted out. So I'm going to do File, Save All Related Files, and the next stage will be to add some real content to the page. Building the structure of a fluid grid layout in Dreamweaver requires careful planning, because Design View behaves differently when the fluid grid guides are turned on. New elements are inserted immediately after the currently selected element. So if the current element is nested inside another one, the next one will also be nested inside, unless you select the outer element first, and you can do that using the arrows on your keyboard. And once the outer element is selected, the next element will be added after that. All fluid elements must have either an ID or a class, and you can use this duplicate tool to speed up the insertion of duplicate elements.